There's a certain kind of tragedy that doesn't announce itself with dramatic music or one devastating moment. Sometimes tragedy is quieter than that. Sometimes it looks like a little girl sitting at the dinner table while every conversation bends around her brother. Sometimes it looks like sarcasm, sometimes it looks like attitude. Sometimes it looks like a child who seems fine because everyone around her has decided that she is the one they don't have to worry about. And that is the tragedy of Missy Cooper. Because in young Sheldon, Missy isn't neglected in the obvious way. She has food, she has a home, she has parents who love her, she has a grandmother nearby, siblings around her, and a family that, on the surface, looks chaotic but functional. That's what makes her story so painful. Missy isn't abandoned in a way that's easy to point at. She's abandoned emotionally, slowly, repeatedly, in the small moments where a child learns whether or not her feelings matter. And over the course of the show, Missy Cooper learns a brutal lesson. In the Cooper family, Sheldon's needs are urgent. Georgie's mistakes are obvious. Mary's faith dominates the household. George's struggles take up space. Mima's chaos draws attention. And Missy is expected to simply survive in the background. She is the glass child, the child everyone can see through. From the very beginning of young Sheldon, the entire premise of the family revolves around Sheldon. He is the genius. He is the anomaly. He is the one the school doesn't know what to do with. He is the child whose intelligence is so unusual that his parents have to constantly rearrange the family's life around him. Sheldon skipping grades, going to high school early, needing special treatment, struggling socially, obsessing over rules, science, religion, germs, schedules, and logic. All of it becomes the gravitational center of the Cooper household. And Missy is his twin. That detail matters. She isn't just his younger sister, she isn't just another kid in the house. She entered the world at the same time as him. She shares a birthday with him. She is constantly standing right next to the miracle child, while everyone acts like only one of them is remarkable. Imagine what that does to a person. Imagine being born beside someone, growing up beside someone, sharing the same age, the same parents, the same house, the same childhood. But watching the world treat your sibling like a once-in-a-generation mind while treating you like the ordinary one. And not just ordinary in a neutral way, ordinary as in forgettable, ordinary as in convenient, ordinary as in you'll be fine. That's the phrase that defines Missy Cooper's childhood. She'll be fine. But the show keeps telling us over and over again that she is not fine. One of the clearest examples comes in Season 2, Episode 5, a research study in Czechoslovakian wedding pastries. In that episode, Dr. Sturgis recommends Sheldon and Missy for a university research study on twins. At first, it seems like the kind of situation designed to prove what everyone already assumes. Sheldon is the brilliant one, Missy is the normal one. The researchers test both of them, and Sheldon, predictably, excels in the analytical areas. He is good with logic. He is good with patterns. He is good with the kind of intelligence that adults love to measure. But then the episode does something important. It shows that Missy is intelligent too, just not in the way Sheldon is. When the study shifts toward emotional intelligence and social perception, Missy shines. She reads people. She understands tension. She notices what others are feeling. She picks up on the emotional world around her with a sharpness that Sheldon completely lacks. While Sheldon struggles with empathy and social cues, Missy understands human beings. In one of the episode's most telling ideas, Sheldon is intellectually gifted, but Missy is emotionally gifted. The study doesn't prove that Sheldon is better, it proves that the Cooper family has been valuing the wrong kind of intelligence, and that's what makes the episode heartbreaking. Because for a brief moment, the adults are forced to see Missy. They are forced to recognize that she has something special too. Mary and George even have to reconsider their parenting because Missy's results surprise them. But the tragedy is that this recognition doesn't become a turning point. It doesn't permanently change the family dynamic. It doesn't lead to Missy finally getting equal attention, equal encouragement, or equal emotional care. It's just a moment. And then life goes back to orbiting Sheldon. That episode is basically the thesis statement of Missy's entire character. She has gifts, but they aren't the gifts her family knows how to celebrate. Sheldon's intelligence gets schools involved. It gets professors involved. It gets special programs, adult attention, and endless conversations about his future. Missy's intelligence helps her understand people, comfort people, challenge people, and survive people. But because it doesn't look like math, science, or academic achievement, it gets treated like a personality trait instead of a gift. Sheldon is called exceptional. Missy is called sassy. And that difference destroys her, because Missy's sarcasm is not just comic relief, it's armor. It's what happens when a child realizes that if she says what she actually feels, nobody will take it seriously. So she turns pain into jokes. She turns loneliness into attitude. She turns emotional awareness into sharp one-liners. The audience laughs because Missy is funny, and she is. But beneath that comedy is a kid who has learned that humor is one of the only ways she can control the room. When Sheldon is upset, the family reacts like there is an emergency. When Sheldon is uncomfortable, everyone adjusts. When Sheldon has a meltdown, the household makes space for it. But when Missy is upset, it's often treated like misbehavior. That difference is everything. Sheldon's problems are interpreted as needs. Missy's problems are interpreted as attitude. And when a child grows up in that environment, she starts to understand that her pain is only valid if it becomes impossible to ignore. That's exactly what happens later in the series. By season 6, Missy's loneliness isn't subtext anymore. It becomes the actual story. In A Stolen Truck and Going on the Lam, Missy steals George's truck and runs away. That is not just teenage rebellion. That is not just a kid being dramatic. That is the explosion of years of being overlooked. She doesn't run away because she wants adventure. She runs away because she feels like there is no room for her in her own family. And look at what makes that episode so revealing. Missy doesn't even run towards someone in her family. She calls Paige. That choice says so much. Paige is another child who understands what it feels like to be damaged by the expectations of adults. Paige was introduced as another prodigy, someone who could intellectually rival Sheldon, but her story becomes much darker because unlike Sheldon, she can't comfortably live inside the identity everyone gave her. Her parents' divorce, her instability, her loneliness, all of it makes her a mirror to Missy in a different way. Paige and Missy are not the same kind of overlooked, but they both know what it feels like to be failed by adults who are too consumed with their own problems to fully protect them. So when Missy feels alone, she doesn't call Mary, she doesn't call Sheldon, she doesn't call Georgie. She calls another broken kid. That is devastating. And the actual details of the runaway episode make it even more tragic. Missy drives around in George's truck, tries to keep moving, ends up dealing with normal practical problems like needing gas, and eventually goes to a diner with Paige. On the surface, it plays with comedy because young Sheldon is still a sitcom drama, but emotionally, the episode is screaming something very serious. Missy has reached the point where leaving home feels more comforting than staying in it. A child does not steal a truck and run away because everything is okay. She does it because nobody listened when her pain was quieter. And the worst part is that Missy had been telling them, not always directly, but constantly. Every sarcastic comment, every eye roll, every moment of bitterness toward Sheldon, every time she pushed back against Mary or challenged the family dynamic, those were signals. But because Missy's pain didn't look like Sheldon's anxiety or Georgie's bad decisions, it was easy to dismiss. That's the central failure of the Cooper family. They don't fail Missy because they hate her. They fail her because they misunderstand what suffering looks like when it comes from her. Mary Cooper is probably the most complicated part of this. Mary loves her children deeply. She is not a villain. But her love is filtered through fear, religion, and favoritism that she doesn't always recognize. Sheldon is the child she protects the most. Part of that is because he genuinely needs guidance. He is socially vulnerable, physically small, intellectually isolated, and often incapable of understanding the emotional consequences of his behavior. Mary sees him as fragile, and because of that, she overfunctions for him. But Missy is fragile too. She just hides it better. Mary's mistake is that she often assumes Missy's independence means Missy needs less. But independence in a child is not always a sign of security. Sometimes it is a sign that the child has stopped expecting help. Missy learns to be tough because she has to. She learns to talk back because being polite gets her ignored. She learns to act like nothing hurts her, because admitting that something hurts her doesn't guarantee anyone will stop it. That's what makes Mary's parenting of Missy so painful to watch. Mary can be nurturing, but her nurturing is uneven. When Sheldon is in distress, Mary mobilizes. When Missy is in distress, Mary often moralizes. She worries about Missy's behavior, her attitude, her choices, her rebellion, but she does not always stop to ask what those things are protecting. And then there's George. George Cooper Sr. is one of the only people in the family who sometimes seems to really understand Missy. Their bond is one of the emotional anchors of the show. George treats Missy with a kind of warmth and ease that she doesn't always get from Mary. He jokes with her, he watches sports with her, he talks to her like she is not just Sheldon's twin or Mary's daughter, but her own person. There are moments where George sees Missy's sadness more clearly than anyone else does. That is why their relationship matters so much, but it's also why it hurts so much. Because George is not fully consistent either. He loves Missy, but he is also tired, frustrated, overworked, and emotionally trapped in his own failing marriage. He is present in some ways and absent in others. He gives Missy pockets of attention, but not enough to erase the larger family dynamic. He understands her better than most, but he still cannot save her from the loneliness of that house. And then, eventually, George dies. By the final season, the tragedy of Missy becomes inseparable from the tragedy of George. The family loses the person who, despite all his flaws, may have been Missy's strongest emotional connection. And what makes George's death so crushing in the context of Missy is that the audience knows she was already lonely before it happened. She was already overlooked. She was already angry. She was already carrying the emotional consequences of being the child everyone assumed could handle herself. Then the parent who understood her best is gone. In the finale period of young Sheldon, the Cooper family is shattered by George's sudden death from a heart attack. The grief lands differently on every character. Mary collapses into religion and regret. Georgie is forced even more heavily into responsibility. Sheldon processes the loss in his own detached, intellectualized way. But Missy's grief feels especially raw because it combines loss with abandonment. She is not only grieving her father, she is grieving the one person in the house who made her feel seen. That is why Missy's anger after George's death makes sense. To some viewers, Missy may come across as harsh, rebellious, or unfair in moments like these. But grief does not turn people into their most balanced selves. It exposes the wounds that were already there. Missy's grief is not clean because her childhood was not emotionally clean. She is mourning her dad, but she is also mourning the version of her family that never really existed. The version where she was protected, prioritized, and understood. And the saddest part is that after George's death, Sheldon leaves for Caltech. That may be necessary for Sheldon's story. It is his future. It is where the Big Bang Theory mythology needs him to go. But emotionally, for Missy, it is another abandonment. Once again, Sheldon's destiny takes precedence. Once again, the family's energy bends around what happens to Sheldon. He gets to leave. He gets to move forward. He gets the clean narrative of the gifted child stepping into the next chapter. Missy stays behind in the wreckage. That contrast is brutal. Sheldon's childhood ends with escape. Missy's childhood ends with grief. And if you connect young Sheldon to what we later see in The Big Bang Theory, Missy's tragedy becomes even clearer. Adult Missy does not appear to have a close, warm, emotionally rich relationship with Sheldon. She shows up, but there is distance there. She has her own life, her own problems, her own separateness from the Cooper family mythology, and that makes sense. Because why would she be deeply connected to a family system that trained her to be secondary? Even Georgie's later resentment toward Sheldon in The Big Bang Theory adds to this. We learn that after George died, Georgie had to help take care of the family while Sheldon was away. That detail is usually discussed as part of Georgie's tragedy, and it is. But it also reflects the broader Cooper family fracture. Sheldon left. Mary grieved. Georgie carried responsibility. And Missy, still a child herself, had to grow up in the emotional aftermath. Nobody in that family got out untouched. But Missy's pain is unique because it was always so easy to overlook. She is not a prodigy like Sheldon. She is not an obvious provider like Georgie. She is not a grieving widow like Mary. She is not the dead father whose absence defines the family. Missy's role is quieter. She is the daughter who was there for all of it, absorbing the tension, reading the room, learning everyone else's emotions, and realizing that her own emotions were rarely the priority. That is why calling her a glass child fits so well. The term describes a child whose siblings' needs are so intense that the parents look through them, not because they don't love them, but because another child's crisis is louder. And Sheldon is always louder. Even when he is not trying to be. His brilliance is louder. His anxiety is louder. His routines are louder. His future is louder. His problems are louder. Missy's needs are quieter. So they disappear. But here's what makes Missy such a great character. She doesn't disappear to the audience. The audience sees what her family misses. We see that she is funny but also wounded. We see that she is strong but also lonely. We see that she is independent but also desperate for someone to choose her first. We see that when she acts out, it is not because she is bad. It is because she is tired of being treated like the easy child. That phrase, the easy child, is one of the most dangerous labels a kid can have. Because once a family decides you are the easy child, they stop checking. They stop asking. They stop noticing the small changes. They assume your silence means peace. They assume your jokes mean confidence. They assume your independence means you don't need comfort. They assume that because you are not the biggest problem in the room, you are not in pain. Missy Cooper is what happens when the easy child breaks. And the show gives us warnings long before the runaway episode. The twin study shows us that she has emotional depth. Nobody is nurturing. Her relationship with Sheldon shows us that she is constantly forced to accommodate someone who rarely accommodates her. Her connection with George shows us how badly she needs to be understood. Her rebellion shows us what happens when that need goes unmet. Her grief after George's death shows us that the one bond holding her together was not enough to protect her from the larger pattern of neglect. That's why Missy's story is not just sad. It's infuriating, because so much of it was preventable. If Mary and George had recognized earlier that Missy's emotional intelligence was a gift, not just sass, maybe she would have felt valued. If Sheldon had been taught more consistently that Missy's needs mattered too, maybe she would not have felt so overshadowed. If the family had treated her anger as communication instead of inconvenience, maybe she would not have had to escalate just to be heard. If someone had looked at her and said, not once, but consistently, "You matter just as much," maybe her childhood would have felt less lonely. But that's not what happened. Instead, Missy became the child who had to translate her pain into behavior before anyone took it seriously. And that is the real tragedy of Missy Cooper. Not that she was unloved. That would be simpler. The tragedy is that she was loved by people who still failed to see her clearly. Mary loved her, but often prioritized Sheldon. George loved her, but could not always be the stable emotional presence she needed. Sheldon loved her in his limited way, but lacked the awareness to understand how much space he took up. Georgie loved her, but he was fighting his own battle to be taken seriously. Mima loved her, but even she couldn't fully repair the imbalance inside the Cooper home. Missy had people around her, but having people around you is not the same as having someone truly there for you. That is what makes her loneliness so specific and so painful. She is not isolated because she has no family. She is isolated inside her family. She is surrounded by people, noise, arguments, dinners, church, school, football, science, babies, marriages, and crises. And somehow, she still ends up alone. And maybe that's why Missy connects with viewers so strongly, because not everyone knows what it's like to be a genius like Sheldon. Not everyone knows what it's like to be the oldest son forced into responsibility like Georgie. But a lot of people know what it's like to be the one everyone assumes is okay. The one who makes jokes so nobody asks too many questions. The one who gets called dramatic only after being ignored for too long. The one who watches someone else become the center of the family and slowly learns to stop asking for space. Missy Cooper represents every child who was present but not prioritized. Every child who was loved but not listened to. Every child who was seen every day but never really seen at all. And that's why her story matters. Because young Sheldon may be titled after Sheldon, but some of its most emotionally devastating moments belong to Missy. She is the proof that a family can revolve around one child without realizing the others are drifting away. She is the reminder that intelligence is not only measured in equations and test scores. She is the warning that sarcasm can be a distress signal. She is the child who seemed fine until she wasn't. And by the time the family finally notices the depth of her pain, it often feels too late. Missy Cooper's tragedy is not one single event. It is not just the twin study. It is not just running away. It is not just George's death. It is all of it together. It is the accumulation of being second place in her own childhood. It is years of small dismissals building into one enormous wound. It is the experience of growing up next to someone extraordinary and being made to feel ordinary by comparison, even when she was extraordinary in a way her family failed to understand. Sheldon Cooper was the boy the world couldn't stop studying. Missy Cooper was the girl right beside him, waiting for someone to notice she had a story too. And that's the heartbreak. Because Missy didn't need to be the genius. She didn't need to be the favorite. She didn't need the whole world to revolve around her. She just needed her family to stop looking through her. And far too often, they didn't.